So yesterday we had Bernie Sanders on the program, a little bit of an interview with him. It was an interview a little bit different than the mainstream media because we asked him some questions about policy and how he differs from Hillary Clinton. You would think that this is a kind of a layup. How do you differ from the person that you're running against? But not a lot of the media does that. Instead, they browbeat him about whether he should get out of the race, he's a socialist, whatever, all these different things that they do. It's so boring. They ask the same questions over and over again in an attempt to frame him as some sort of wild-eyed liberal, which is kind of what you want to be, I think, in a Democratic primary in some ways. So now we did the interview with him, and Fox News has jumped on it. They showed it on the air today, some small portions of it, and they're doing it in a sense to attack Hillary Clinton. But in the midst of doing this piece, they inadvertently tell us things that are true about Hillary Clinton, which is exactly the message Bernie Sanders wanted to get out. So let's watch.
And in an interview with the liberal Young Turks webcast, Sanders ripped Clinton for flip-flops on domestic issues.
That is why, frankly, a lot of people don't trust her.
In fact, the latest Fox News poll found 64% of registered voters do not find her honest and trustworthy. 34% do. She has another problem brewing. Not only is Sanders refusing to get out of the race, he dodged a question about whether he will eventually endorse Clinton and rally his supporters around her by saying it depends on whether the Democratic establishment gives in to some of his demands.
If I can't make it, and we're going to try as hard as we can till the last vote is cast, we want to completely revitalize the Democratic Party and make it a party of the people rather than just one of large campaign contributors.
Sounds like a dig at Clinton, who's also spent the last 2 days out here in California raising big money, and she'll be back next month for 2 events with George and Amal Clooney. Price tag, $100,000 a couple.
$100,000 a couple. Why the weird pause? I don't know.
Because they're reporters on television. Yeah. They can't be real human beings. Okay, look, mission accomplished. 2 things that they pointed out there. Polls do indicate that she rates terribly on trustworthiness. And not just the Fox News poll. They quoted their own poll, but there's a dozen polls that say the same exact thing, including a Bloomberg poll that came out today. So Bernie Sanders wants to get that message out. He did, and now it's resonating. So people are talking about it. Turns out if you ask him to make a case against his opponent, he does, and he's got a good case to make, so logical. And then much more importantly, he says, and I like that Fox News framed like he has these demands. These demands like you represent the people.
Yeah, so when they said that, I was like, okay, great, hit piece on Bernie Sanders, right? And then you hear his soundbite, and it's awesome. I mean, even if I were a Republican, if I would hear that, we want to be a party for the people, sounds pretty good.
What a demand. Unreasonable.
Instead of a party that represents corporations. Sounds pretty good, right?
Well, that's why Bernie Sanders scores so well among independents, overwhelmingly on his side. But finally, the fact that they were forced to bring out, when you have an actual conversation about this, is that, yes, Hillary Clinton is going around raising a ton of money from donors.
Yeah.
So Bernie Sanders last night had a speech and a rally here in Los Angeles, of course, as the independent who covered it for the UK pointed out, totally free, thousands of people spilled over into the streets, and he went out and talked to the people in the street, too, that couldn't make it into the auditorium. Then he gave a rousing speech. At the same time, Hillary Clinton is doing $500 a plate dinner fundraiser in Los Angeles. They're in the same city. I mean, what a contrast, right?
Yep.
Now, the second fundraiser for Hillary Clinton is going to be even more expensive. You don't get to see Hillary Clinton unless you got a lot of cash. And Bernie Sanders won't even take your cash. It's open to the public.
So I don't know why I haven't talked about this on the show at all, but earlier on in Hillary's campaign, it happened this year, I went to a Hillary fundraiser as media. So I had connections, and that's how I got in. It's not fancy at all. That's how I got in. But understand that everyone else that was there spent a ton of money just to get in. And just the atmosphere was interesting, right? Because there was, the Democratic Party is supposed to be the party that looks out for the working class, right? But you're there, you're in the middle of this extravagant fundraiser, and the people there don't care about the working class. The people there are not concerned about the issues that we're concerned about. There's this hoity-toity atmosphere because these are people who come from money, right? So even within the Democratic Party, you have a divide. You have real progressives who care about these issues that impact working class people, and then you have those who might be liberal in some social issues, as Hillary Clinton kind of is, right? but they don't really care about income inequality. That's not really the core of their political activism.
And now, if you want to be fair to those liberal donors, some of them might care about gay rights, civil rights, etc., but a lot of them might also care about income inequality. But even if you were to give them benefit of the doubt on that, and I would give them benefit of the doubt to some of those folks, okay, the problem is Hillary Clinton spends almost all of her time in rooms full of rich people. And again, nothing wrong with being rich, but that's the only perspective she's getting. She's in a bubble filled with incredibly wealthy people. And do incredibly wealthy people want huge change in the system? Not really. That system's been good to almost everyone in that room.
Exactly.
So even if they care deeply about other people and people who are suffering or people who are poor, middle class, etc., they're not going to want to upend the system. The system put them at the very top.
Yeah, they're not going to fight for significant change because that significant change might impact them negatively, or at least they think it might.
And they might not even think it consciously. They might think it instinctually, like, I don't want that much change. Whereas Bernie Sanders is in a room filled with 2,000, 3,000 last night, sometimes up to 17,000, 30,000 in different venues, screaming people going, change, change, we need the change. So if you're in the room Hillary's in, you're going to have a certain perspective. And that perspective is like, things not that bad. Let's tweak things around the corner, but otherwise, steady as we go. And in the other room, they're screaming for change, and you're going to hear that perspective. And there you have the difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.